Hello, everyone. We are back today again, same time, same day, not same, yeah, same day, yeah, same Wednesday. How are you doing, Dan? You good?
I'm fine. I'm feeling really good today. But actually, it has not been always the case for me,
Mm,
And I guess that's the topic of our broadcast tonight, right?
yeah, exactly. Last week I was in a fairly bad place as well for one day. But yeah, I think today's topic is interesting because it's May 2021 and it's Mental Health Awareness Month. Um, for May normally. So we decided to do an episode dedicated to everything mental health related. Particularly, we're going to share two or three tips from each of us to talk about what are the sort of situations we had in the past and what did we do to overcome the sort of mental health not issues but challenges that we have from time to time. So we've come together, we've worked out some tips from each of us to make sure there's no duplication. So hopefully there's something that we each do that you are able to learn or take from. Shall we hit it off right away?
Yeah, definitely. I think there is nothing else that we should say at the moment. We should just let's say move on with our stories and tell our, let's say, darkest stories, our lowest moments when it comes to mental
Sounds
health.
sounds good. Shall we start with you, Dan? So I know the first thing you mentioned was about taking care of your body because it helps prevent you from a mental breakdown. Do you want to elaborate?
uh yeah, so I would start with actually I have many examples for that. Like first of all, when I went to the university, my first year at the university was very it was actually the toughest year of my life. Like February 2016, I was definitely in the lowest point of my life in terms of like mental health, in terms of well-being. And after that, I started doing some improvement with when it comes to approach to my mental health, but also health in general, my physical health as well, because I started I started taking exercising more seriously. I was doing handball at that time. I was doing kickboxing. I even started going to the gym. So I was doing a lot of this stuff. But at that point, one of the things that was missing for me, um, actually two things that were missing. So first was nutrition. I failed a bit on my nutrition at that time, and the other thing that was not really, let's say, good in my life. It was my sleeping habit. Like I used to go to bed very very late in the night. I used to wake up very late, and definitely the fact that I was there was like a shorter time when I was exposed to the sunlight. It just influenced my well-being, how I felt about myself. And huh, then there was like a big change, summer 2016. uh, the best the best friend of mine died, and
Oh,
that was like a, you know let's say, a tipping point to some extent in my life. That's when I started this very tiresome journey to good well-being, to good mental health. It's not perfect right now, but it's definitely way better than 5 years ago. you know and so since then, like nutrition, working out, and at some point I had this amazing physique, but also like thanks to good nutrition, thanks to exercising a lot, my sleeping habits improved. So this, I guess, these three things are very important in anyone's life. So sleeping habits, exercising, and nutrition. Like your sleeping habits can be fucked up because of your nutrition and exercising. So quite connected, these three. um but the thing is that when coronavirus pandemia started, I stopped exercising, and I stopped. I was still having quite good sleeping habits, but I stopped exercising, or I was not exercising as much as I should, and my nutrition failed. Like my nutrition was terrible at that time, and from being very healthy, very well built guy, I just became fat. And I was fat last year, like summer last year I was fat, uh, and that's when I had my first in maybe first in my life, or first in few years, maybe first in few years, like a panic attack, like an anxiety attack. It was when I was, writing my master thesis, and trying to compromise between writing my master thesis and running my business, and all other things like exercising, healthy nutrition were, not important for me at that time. And one day I just had an anxiety attack. The how it looked, I just like the just terrible headache for me, and increased breathing. Like I was breathing like crazy. So that's another symptom of anxiety attack. And I can see now, because right now, I'm back into really good routine. So I'm exercising like 6 times per week. I'm uh, i'm on quite strict diet. Lately I don't even drink alcohol. I think it was almost 4 weeks since the last time I had any alcohol. um and this month I just felt amazing when it comes to my mental health, even though I had some troubles in my business, in my personal life as well.
Mm.
But still, thanks to the fact that my body is so strong at the moment, I was able to cope with that problems mentally. So so yeah, long story short, because I think I touched on many different things here. um and you can go to my Instagram and you will see a video on that topic, that if you want to achieve amazing performance in anything, you just need to take care of your body first. I'm not
Mhm.
talking about sports performance. It's obvious for sports performance, but if you want to achieve amazing things in your life, in business, you just need to exercise. You just need to take care of your health. I let's look at the greatest entrepreneurs, like Elon Musk, like Bill Gates, like Jeff Bezos. None of these guys is like fat. None of these guys is looking terrible despite their age. Like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk over, like, I think mid 50s, and they are still looking great. Bill Gates, late 60s, still looking quite good. So these guys are really taking care of themselves.
Yeah, I just want to add that. Do you remember when we were working in together? The managing director of the time, when I go into the office gym on a Saturday, it would only be me and him, and he would be there. He would be working out, and he is so slim, like strong, like his arms are massive.
Yeah, like he was actually one of the fittest guys
Exactly,
in our office, except for
exactly.
myself, of course. He was like second to myself at that time.
Yeah, he's super fit, right? Like, he will wear a sleeveless tank, and then he'll be in there like working out really hard. And there are also lots of science and research we won't bore everyone with around how if you look after your body, it will generate the energy that you need in order to feed your mind, so that you get more clarity, your mind gets less clouded, and you just switch on like that quickly. Even when I think about my own manager, he would go on to the gym early in the morning, then kicks his day, and I think he thinks things through so clearly and so logically, which I was thinking like, oh wow, such a great guy. But he's got a routine, right, to make sure he get himself into that state. But the observation is that everyone who is able to work things through quite clearly, has got a clear, strong mindset. They all have some kind of a routine in terms of looking after their body, whether it's exercise, whether it's some kind of eating routine, or they must have something. And if you ask them, they will always say, "Oh yeah, I do this, I do that, I work out, I exercise, or whatever." So I strongly believe that um, looking after your body is a huge looking after your health, let's put it that way, is a huge part of that, because it's all linked together, right? There's a mind body connection.
So so tell me about your moment from last week, because I saw your post on Instagram. Even in our conversations, you didn't mention it, so maybe
Mm.
are you willing to share it right now with us?
Yeah, it's actually the point that I'm going to raise now. So my view on mental health was that last Thursday, I remember this so vividly. uh, it was all okay. Like throughout the day, it was fine. But then I was in the gym. I was working out, and then came off the treadmill. Went into a group stretch lesson. A stretch lesson is like meant to be relaxing. You're like stretching your muscles. You should be relaxing. But I just feel like my mind was all over the place, like literally all over the place. Like I couldn't calm it down. I was thinking about everything I was meant to do, but I haven't done. I was thinking about what I could have done better, but I didn't. And because I also have a connected watch, which is connected to my phone, so when notifications come in, it vibrates, right? So there was a phone call that comes in. There was some notifications that kick in, and I was just like, I've never felt that overwhelmed before. Especially when I was in a class, I was really working hard to trying to calm down, etc. But I just wasn't. I was. It was really bad. And then when I finished the class, I just like, went back. And then when I got home, obviously my housemate was already doing some dinner. It's very kind to do dinner because I was home late. And then he said, "Oh, why are you so late?" I was like, "Dude, I'm not in a good place. I don't want to bring the negative energy to you. I just want to let you know that I'm not in a good place. So let's just get the dinner over. If I go back to our room and I just reground myself." So yeah, I had a really, I don't know where it comes from. It just all of a sudden it just kicks in. But I think I know where it comes from. I think it's because last week, first thing is I already give myself lots of things to do, right? I've got work that I work really hard on. When I finish work, I also do my learnings. I try to create something. Intellectually, I'm stretching myself in the gym. Physically, I'm stretching myself. And yeah, I think, and then last week, not sure if people follow, but because I invest in cryptocurrencies, cryptocurrencies took a huge dip, and my stomach was turning. And I think all of those things add on together, my Thursday was just completely flipped over. But what I want to say is that I didn't expect it. I didn't know where it came from. But the way that I got over it, I actually journal about it, which is the first thing is I thought to myself, I remember I was in the stretch class and tell myself, just take a deep breath. I just like, just take a deep breath. I know I'm overwhelmed. I shouldn't avoid it. I shouldn't go, I know I'm not overwhelmed. I know I'm going to be on top of this. I'm not good enough. That's why I say acknowledge it. Just acknowledge that you're stressed. Acknowledge that I was overwhelmed. Acknowledge that something was going wrong inside my mind and my body. Because once you acknowledge it, I think one thing that I just realized I didn't write it down here is I have to accept it. I can't just acknowledge it and then just say, oh yeah, okay, I can see it, but no, I'm not that kind of person. I have to accept it. I have to accept I'm in that moment. I'm stressed. I was overwhelmed. And okay, I just have to tell myself that, okay, you're in this zone and it's fine. It's okay. Then I faced it. And then when I got home, I finished my dinner, etc. I sat down. My mom was still going, right? I spoke to the gym owner. She said, you should take a break. You should just break, like do something completely different. I was just about, my mind was going 100 miles an hour. It was going so quick. But when I came home, I actually questioned myself, like, where did this come from? And then I know that it's probably because of the investment going down. I think I probably lost about 3 or 4 grand in one day. Obviously unrealized, but the numbers just went down. So I was like, honestly, it's not good. So I know it came from there. So I started to understand and see other investors, what are they doing? Are there something that, what's the mentality they're going through? What's their mindset? I start to question where this all comes from. And I start to also untangle where those things about, I wasn't doing enough here. I wasn't doing great here. I haven't created what I want to do here. I wasn't doing enough or performing as great as I want to be in this area. I started to untangle all of those things and I go, okay, what is one simple baby step that I can do now? I don't want to do nothing. I don't want to be like, go onto YouTube, just watch some films, laugh it off, go to bed. I don't want to do that. So I just thought to myself, what is one simple thing, so simple that it doesn't take a lot of brain effort or energy? And I went on to create Facebook ads because I've got all the writings, I've got all the images ready. So I do just import in, copy and paste. I was like, I can do that. I just do that, baby step. And interestingly, once you go through the phase of acknowledging it, facing it, questioning it, and doing baby steps, a momentum kicks in. It's like, okay, you're getting there now. Okay. And I started to do more things. I was like, okay, I'm prepared to learn a bit about something else. Okay, I'm ready to create something else. And then when I get to the end of the day, I actually felt like, this overwhelmed thing is actually trying to just give me some reality and fact check about where I am now. Because I'm all over the place. I haven't got the time to gather all my thoughts together to go what I need to focus on now. So what I've learned is that actually, yes, it's not great when I was in that zone, but when I got out of it, I was just like, okay, it actually helps me to understand the mindset of investment a lot better. I do a lot of research. It helps me put my vision from short term into the long term. It helps me to understand, oh yeah, there are things that I've been procrastinating. What is a simple thing that I can do to move forward? It's all these little nuggets that I wouldn't expect when I was in the zone of overwhelm that helps me to get there. So obviously I went to bed. I didn't sleep a lot that night. I think I slept for about 4 or 5 hours. I woke up and my mind was like, okay, good. I'm still feeling a little bit turn in my stomach, but I was like, okay, but I got more clarity now on if this happens, I need to expect this. I need to expect a worst case scenario, because when I was investing, I didn't expect worst case scenario. I need to do that moving forward. So all the things I want to do, how can I map it out so that I focus on the needle moving activities? If not, is it because I give myself a too tight deadline? Can I stretch it out a little bit just so I can get a bit more breathing space so that I can focus fully on my work? But when I get off work, I also focus on my learning and the things I want to create. So all these things help me get a bit more clarity. And I'm not so stressed now. I'm like, you know what? I'm actually fresh now. I'm ready to go. I've got my fact checks. I've got everything that I need. Okay, let's go again. So that was the biggest learning I've got. But I think the main lesson here is that we cannot expect when these things are going to hit us. It's going to hit us at some point. But the way that I think people can use and help is that it's really important that we accept it, acknowledge it, and really face it. Then we can start to do some work on our internal work and understand, where does this come from? Why am I feeling this way? What is my biggest worry that caused this stress? Because I understand that my worry is about losing all my investment and all my money, right? But that
But
that
okay,
yeah,
have you asked yourself what would be the realistic result on your life, assuming that, I don't know, uh, some worldwide body would make a call that cryptocurrencies are banned from now on? Then all the value of all cryptocurrencies would be 0,000. So your money would be 0,000, worth nothing, right?
yeah,
All cryptocurrencies.
yeah.
How do you imagine situation then?
Interestingly, right? So I never thought of that.
But
So obviously, huh?
you know why? You should.
Exactly that. Exactly that. And that's the biggest learning, which is I should, because I didn't expect this to happen. That's why it caused me where I was, right? So I question it. I go, okay, I understand that. So I start to do lots of research. I do readings. I watch YouTube videos. I try to get both views to see what things are going on, etc. Understand the history of it. I do all of this work, right? And I got to a point where I realized that, at the end of the day, investment is all about, you have to be okay if everything goes to zero, because everything can go to zero, right? But that wasn't my mentality when I went in. So I realized that, okay, you know what? Interestingly, right? I thought to myself, yes, it could go to zero. If I go to zero, how much have I lost in total? So I worked out, okay, this is how much I would lose. And I asked myself, would I be okay losing all that money? I wasn't sure to begin with, but then after that, I thought, yes, because two things. One, I would have learned a big lesson that I'll learn at this age that no one else would, because I went through it. Two, is that it actually will give me more motivation to go, I know I can make back those money, but I cannot make that lesson up. So the fact that I've gone through, I do all those work, etc. So now I'm like, you know what, going forward, yes, I need to make sure that I protect my downside, right? Because it's going to drop. It's going to have some issues. It might not work out. Like I say, it might all go to zero. Would I be okay with that? Can I sleep on this bed behind me when it all goes to zero? I probably can't for the first day. But the thing is, I know I will be okay, because I can just go back out there, find ways to earn back those money. Yeah. So
Definitely. Like that's more or less the same story with me. Like sometimes if I'm so scared of, I don't know, what's going on in my business, or even sometimes I'm scared of just one client leaving. I'm I'm talking with myself in a way like, okay, let's imagine all your clients are leaving at the same time, which is impossible. Having six clients, what are the odds that at the moment six clients? What are the odds that all of them will leave on one day in 1 week? Close to zero, I guess. Uh, so then I'm just telling myself, okay, if I lose all of them, I will probably just go to a regular job, and I will start my business, maybe not the same, but something similar, all over again as a side hustle.
exactly
And
that.
it's nothing really scary. Of course, to some extent, it is scary to go from being full-time entrepreneur to being um, a, s- a side hustle entrepreneur and 9 to 5 employee. Shit, I just wait. That's funny feeling there, because it's been like 10 months since I'm like, since I graduated from university and I became full-time entrepreneur. And I haven't realized like this in full, I would say, if you know what I mean. Like I was still living in that place of, sort of, being like part-time, but actually I'm full-time, and it's
Mm.
for 10 months already. Like shit.
Time flies without you knowing. Yeah,
Never mind. Let's move on with mental health.
yeah, it actually fits in quite nicely, because I talk about, this is kind of like my framework, which is I'd say about acknowledge, face it, question it. But then, interestingly, the second point that you raised was about to get through mental health issues. One of the practical ways that we can do is that we can create our own mental strategies for certain situations, right? So, do you want to talk about this tip of yours and when did you came up with this?
Okay, so uh, very often we hear that if you want to be big time entrepreneur one day, you have to think like one. So if you want to be, let's say, I don't know, the size of Gary Vaynerchuk, you need to think like Gary Vaynerchuk, not a guy named Bob who is like a local shop owner in your town, right? You need to think like Gary Vaynerchuk if you want to get there, not like Bob who is like local shop owner. Um, so to some extent, I'm grateful that uh, my dad stopped being my role model a year ago, because my dad is a local entrepreneur, and I cannot look up to him if I want to be, big time entrepreneur, if I want to be bigger than him. So so because of this idea of thinking like a big time entrepreneur, or thinking like a billionaire, millionaire, billionaire, then I came up with this few strategies that help me to cope mostly with failures in my business. So in a case when I'm thinking like, oh shit, I'm 25 and there are those guys on TikTok, on Instagram, who are driving Lamborghinis, earning shit on either digital marketing or maybe drop shipping or maybe cryptocurrencies. And then I'm thinking, okay, but but these guys will probably be no one in like 10 years. And let's think in what place Gary, Jeff Bezos, who else? Probably we would find a few other examples were when they were 25. Like Gary was still working for his dad's wine shop. Jeff Bezos was still 7 years before starting Amazon in his garage, because he started Amazon in his garage at the age of 32. Gary started recording his first video when he was 30. So being like 5 years ahead of Gary with recording videos and stuff, with showing myself out there, uh, being even 9 years ahead of Jeff Bezos, because I started my business when I was still 23. uh, Makes me feel quite comfortable. I would say, even though there are some months that I can barely make a living. That's 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 very stressful. Then I'm thinking like, okay, my time will come, because the time of Gary came, the time of Jeff came, and it came late. Maybe my time will also come late. I just need to be comfortable with it. I just need to try to do try to improve my game from week to another week, from a month to another month, from a year to another year. I see how much I grew as an entrepreneur year on year. I was I was really a kid entrepreneur a year ago, like maybe toddler entrepreneur a year ago. Now I'm a child. I started walking. I started, I don't know, maybe cycling on my little entrepreneurial bike, something like that. But also another mental strategy that I came up with is that when you lose in business in terms of operation, right? So whenever a client leaves and I'm starting to worry about it, then I'm thinking, is Elon worrying about one Tesla burning somewhere out there in the world? I think not. So why should I worry about just one client leaving? One client will leave, another client will come. Of course, you need to just provide as much of a great experience and customer service to your clients, but you should not worry too much about that. There is yeah, there is no way that you will be perfect for everyone. Oh, that's another good mental strategy that you need to really think of. You are not good for everyone, and not everyone will be good for you.
Absolutely. No, that's a very great ending. I love that. It's like I used to be a people pleaser. Like you do everything for everyone else just to make sure that they're happy when they're with you, and then sometimes you do it at the expense of what you believe to be or what you think about certain things, and then you give in, right? Because you're worried that, oh, what if they don't like me? What if they hate me? I don't want to be like that person. And then you ended up not putting your stance up for other people to let them know who you really are, what you really think. So yeah, I think I'm still learning to not be a people pleaser, but yes, that's a great way to end that.
But do you have any mental strategies of yourself?
So I think I just shared a few, because when I talk about the overwhelm thing, I think I came up with those, which is, for example, protecting my downside. For me, it's like, what's the worst that can happen, and can I bounce back if that worst things happen, or is there even such thing as a worst thing? Could the worst thing be the best thing that happens to us? Would I actually think if something really bad happens to me, the whole courage inside of me would absolutely be like fired up, because you're like, I've got no choice, I have to make it work, right? So sometimes I think like, yes, now that reminds me of something. I'm going to jump ahead because I'm conscious of time. I'm going to jump ahead. I know that Dan, you've got an extra one, but we can use that because mine is kind of related to that. Okay. Because we're talking about the worst thing, right? And you had a tip about opening up ourselves instead of pointing down what's inside of us. So I'll tell you my worst thing that's happened and how it relates to this. It is when I had a relationship breakup 3 years ago. I was with this girl that I met. We were together for a few months. Everything was great, and then she.
So was it at that time when I was at the company?
Probably. No. Actually, no. The year after that.
Okay.
No, the year after that. Yeah. Anyway, so
was she from the? Sorry, let's spice it up. Was she from the company?
No, she wasn't. No. Officer, I'll never be someone from a company. Just to make it clear. But anyway, it's anyway. what was I? Okay, relationship breakup, right? So she was here to study, and then she went home after a period of time because she finished her studies. And obviously we spent as much time as we want together before she went back. Then she gone back. Because after like a week or so, she went back. It was my birthday. It was celebrating 4 days later, my birthday. She didn't answer my text, my phone call, anything for 2 weeks, 2 whole weeks. She didn't answer anything. She didn't say anything. There was zero response, zero, just like zero. And I already knew what was happening, right? I was just like, why don't you just talk about it, you know? So I keep saying, if you're ready, tell me, blah, 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 blah. Finally, I gave her an ultimatum. I was like, if you're not responding to me, I'm flying to see you. That was pre-COVID, obviously. And she responded in 5 minutes. Yeah. She told me, I don't think it's gonna work. She gave all the reasons that you expect in a relationship breakup. Anyway, that happened. So because I met her at a place of a common mutual friend, so after the incident, I think after a month or so, I got a time to go back to the common friend's place for a night of stayover, right? Stayover in the place, in a room that me and her used to have a chat or whatever. And then all the memories flood up my head, and I remember 3:00 that night. Oh God, I can still feel the emotions. 3:00 that night, I felt them all, and I broke down. I was crying so hard, etc. First time ever in my life, I thought life is meaningless. First time ever. Yeah, I actually had a very minor moment of suicidal thoughts. Very fine. And that's why I say the acknowledgement bit is so important, because I caught myself at that time. I was like, whoa. You're having this thought now. It's not great. Not good. You can't let this seed grow. So I did something that I never thought I would do, which is I called my parents, because my parents are in Asia. They're 7 ahead. They're 7 hours ahead. I called them. They wasn't expecting my call because they know it will be very late at night. I called them, and when I called them, they saw my phone call. They wasn't expecting it. I just cried. I cried for, I think, half an hour. I didn't say a word, and they were just there with me for that half an hour, for the entire time. They were just there. They just saw me cry. They were just there with me, right? I finished the call. I finished crying. I was just like, I'm okay now. I need to go. I can go to bed. It was 4 or 5 at that time. It was really long. I was like, I need to go to sleep. And I like, okay. I said, don't worry. I'm gonna bring you back tomorrow. I'm gonna make sure I'm okay. So that happened. Obviously, there I got okay. Since now it's been 3 years, I'm still here. I didn't commit suicide, But the thing is, how this relates to the worst thing that happens that became the best thing is that I thought that was the worst time of my life at that time. But now that I look back 3 years later, I experienced 2 things. One is I never ever experienced whatever is called unconditional love until that time. What my parents gave me and showed me was unconditional love. And they taught me how to be a parent at that moment. And then the second thing is that now, yes, I may have lost someone. I have been single for a long time, but because she left, I started to put myself back into learning who I am, who I want to become. How can I look after myself so that when the next person show up, I'm going to be a better person for the next person, whoever is going to show up. So I don't want to say that it's her loss, because there's no such thing as your loss, my loss. It just didn't work. But for me, it's like, I don't care whoever is going to show up next. I'm going to be the better version of I am compared to 3 years ago, because the next person who's going to show up deserves a better version of me. And that's why I say the worst thing can be the worst thing at the moment, but how can we make it the best thing that ever happened to us is down to us. So, but it all starts with do I accept it? Do I acknowledge it? Am I willing to do something about it? Then it all goes from there. But going back to this point is that if I had not opened myself up to my parents and become vulnerable in front of them, this wouldn't have been the best moment. So anyway, long story, but I think it relates to what you're trying to say here.
You know what? I feel like you are quite lucky with your situation. Like, if I understood it correctly, it took you only like, I don't know, three weeks after this, let's say, breakup, until you opened up about it in front of someone, right? Or how long was the period of time?
So I had a time where so obviously when it first happened, I didn't tell anybody about it, etc. It was only when I think it was about a month or two later when I got the time to go back to our mutual friend's home. Because all the things flood out, right? I thought I was managing well, but I wasn't, and that was when I decided to really like complete open up. I never thought I'd do it to my parents, by the way. But there was the first person who pops up. I couldn't think of a friend. I couldn't think of anyone. It was my parents, because I know that they would spend the time with me and wouldn't judge me. So yeah, I would say for about 2 months, 3 months until I really open up completely in that way.
So yeah, you know, 2 3 months, you are really lucky. Uh, for myself, it took me 4 years to open
Mm.
up. Uh, Unfortunately, at the end of high school, just before university, I had this uh, not like relationship, but there was, something between me and this girl, and it didn't end up happily, as you may suppose. Uh, and after that, I had several relationships, things with girls, and it always ended up quickly, very often quite badly, uh, because I couldn't open up, and I was very insensitive, because I didn't open up. I was pretty insensitive, and at some point, um, I got at this really, you would think that, uh, you know 2019, I was like, on the outside, everything looked great. I was smiled, I was good looking, because at that time I was in the shape of my life. um, but still, when it came to, you know building a relationship with someone, it was hard for me, and it was like uh, very heavy for me. And at that time, I spoke with my friend, and she told me that she finally told me that my problem is that I'm very closed in front of girls that I'm trying to interact. You know that that I should open up. Only then I will be able to build a relationship with someone. And luckily, I had this conversation about 1.5 months before I met my girlfriend. Before I met my girlfriend that I'm living with right now. Before I met my girlfriend, who I will be celebrating 2 years together in just 1 month and like 2 weeks. So, but still, 4 years of you know, really carrying a heartache. You know, it was just you know, I would say broken heart, and the thoughts that I had through these 4 years, and things that I have done through these 4 years. Uh, I'm not happy with them. So my advice, based on your experience and my experience combined, um, just open up in front of someone as soon as you are comfortable with it.
And I want to really say that when we talk about opening up, certainly from my experience, is that opening up can either help you or it can pull you down even further. The key difference is, who do you open up yourself to? For example, I wouldn't open up to a random friend, like
No.
what he or she said is not going to help me. So you have to really be careful about, not careful, but you have to wisely choose who you open up yourself to. In my opinion, is very important, because at that moment in time, if you get the support that you need mentally, physically, spiritually, and it helps you look at things or see things differently, that can have a life-changing impact on you. So when we say open up yourself, it sounds great in general terms, but I definitely think that it's very important who you open up yourself to. Would you agree, Dan?
Yeah, definitely. But
Yeah.
you know, uh, yeah, yeah, I would agree, definitely. Like, I don't want to break it down because we are over time already. So,
Yeah.
so
We can have another one of these.
maybe we should follow up on that episode in the future.
Cool. Okay. We are way over time, but we need to cut it off in, let's say, 2 or 3 minutes. Any last comments, Dan, about mental health, that you want to just leave our audience with? We do have people watching, so any final departing comments?
Maybe two things. Start with your body. So if you want to really fix your mental health, then maybe not fix your mental health. If you want to build strong mentality, if you want to have uh, mental health built of steel, then you need to start with your body. Take care of your body first, then you can work on your mind. There is no other way around. Um, and another thing would be, uh, ditch masculine culture. Don't listen to people who tell you to man up. There is nothing like manning up. I you know I Even though I feel how masculine culture uh, you know made a harm to me, and I'm still under huge influence of it, but you don't have to be. And I hope that future generations of men will not be under such great influence of masculine culture.
Cool. My takeaway is, obviously look after your body, etc. But if you are in that space where in a bit of a rut, I would say this is actually a time for you to tap into your courage. It's about having the courage to open up, having the courage to be vulnerable, having the courage to express who you really are, having the courage to tell people what you're afraid of. Because once you step into that, you realize that there is a deep level of yourself which is much stronger that you might not have experienced yet, and that can really help build your mindset and resilience moving forward. So for me, it's turning the worst of your time into your best takes courage, and it is at that moment of courage that you make who you are going to be in the future. So for me, it's all about the courage. And at your most vulnerable time, it's time to call out that courage and we're willing to face it. Then it will set you off for life. I'm pretty sure, because I've experienced that. So yeah, wonderful. 50 minutes. We've never done this long an episode.
But we are talking on a very important topic.
We are indeed. And we are obviously celebrating Mental Health Awareness Month 2021. That's why we're doing this topic. And if you enjoy what we are saying, give us a follow on Instagram over there underneath it.
Subscribe our YouTube channel.
And subscribe and like. Exactly. We only do this because it helps with the algorithm. It helps people see more of us. Me and Dan are just starting. So we hope to be able to find people who are like us. If you enjoy the content, then we want to help to build a community where we can all create a supportive culture, and we should all come together, right, as a younger generation to support each other. So yeah, I think that's it, Dan, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Cool, wonderful. Okay, same time, same week, next week, and we will see you all. And have a great week in the meantime.
Yes.
Adios. Bye. Goodbye.